Hello everybody, welcome to the live today. I'm Kathy, nice to see you, and I hope we get some people on here before too long. I just wanted to come on today and talk about how you start your healing journey if you haven't already started it, or even if you have, maybe some helpful tips that might help you enhance what you've already begun. So I like to call my approach to healing the Holy Trinity of healing, because basically it captures all of the aspects that I think are necessary to move your healing forward. So what are they? First of all, I would say that nutrition is one, and then we have nervous system regulation, which is another important pillar of this approach. And then finally, the energy. So basically, we have to mind our energy. It's our life force, our chi. So it's important that we are aware of what our energetic frequency is at any given time. So what goes into that? So there's a few things under that umbrella. So there's the mindset portion. There is the emotional quotient. So, and then of course we have, the ever-present actual energy of it all. So you definitely want to keep an eye on all of those aspects that kind of go into the energetic equation. So first of all, when you're starting anything new, it's important to kind of just dig down deep and decide, why am I doing this? Why do I want to do it? And you need to sit with that for a minute and really, really dig down, because a surface answer is, in this case, obviously, we're talking about spasmodic dysphonia. So, of course, the inconvenience of not being able to speak clearly and loudly in public settings, on the phone, just various other implications of that happen because our jobs are affected, our relationships are affected, and the quality of our life is affected. So it's important to just dig down deep and decide why. So for me, I had been a singer for years and years prior to coming down with SD, and I really had a lot of my identity kind of attached to my voice. And for me, it was like, who am I without my voice? Because it was my job. It was how I expressed myself in my daily life and so forth, in my relationships. And, of course, once I had SD, I became a completely different person because I couldn't, my dog's coming in here, click, 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 you can hear him. So I no longer could do my job, obviously. Then also, I just couldn't even really carry on very many relationships because I couldn't talk on the phone. So that was kind of out of the question. And I basically had to tell, like a lot of my friends and family that I previously communicated with on the phone, I just said, I just can't do it anymore. So we're going to have to find another mode of communication because I just can't do it. So it really, really, really affected my life. And I was in a low point emotionally as a result of that. So I understand it. What I'm getting at is that I fully understand the frustration and how big of a hole you feel like you're in when you have this condition, because every aspect of your life is affected. But the good news is that, I've been screaming it from the mountaintops. You guys, we can heal it. We can heal this. So why do you want to? Why do you want to heal? You have to get it real clear in your mind. Like, okay, so I'm doing this because I want to be able to enjoy my interactions with other people. I want you to just visualize what it would be like to do that, to go into a party setting or a loud situation where normally it would be striking terror in your bones, because the knowledge that people are going to be like, what? I'm sorry, are you sick? What's going on with you? And it just like is a dagger to your heart when you hear that. So I want you to begin to visualize what it would be like if you didn't have that anymore, and you could go into those situations, or you had an opportunity to advance in your career because you could do presentations, you could speak publicly in a way that you've been unable to do. Or just the simple, like, I'm such a talker, and that's my mode of communication. I enjoy conversation with other people. Probably that's one of the most enjoyable things to me on the planet. But when I couldn't hold up my end of that conversation, it was miserable for me. I took all the joy out of it, because in my mind, I was trying to do all these tricks in my arsenal. I would do these weird like tongue trills and things like that to try and activate my voice so that it would kind of trick it for a minute so I could get a phrase or two out. And so the whole time I'm having the conversation, I would just be thinking of those things in my mind instead of actually participating in the conversation. And then, of course, when I would speak, then I would just worry, oh, what are they thinking about me? What's going on in their minds? So, are they judging me? I'm, whatever. So it's important to know why. So I had a very clear why when I began my healing journey, my trifecta of healing. Because I wanted to be able to sing again. That was something that brought me so much joy in my life. And I felt like an appendage was cut off because I couldn't do it anymore. So for me, I wanted to sing. I wanted to fully communicate and connect with people. So for me, I was bound and determined to heal it. I was dead set on doing whatever it took to do that. So that's important to have that kind of a rock solid foundation to begin with, because without that, there's going to be a lot of temptations and a lot of reasons that we can get derailed. So we want to definitely have that strong resolve going in, knowing that as things come up that are going to try and derail us, we have to dig in further into our why and say, not today, I'm not getting off course. So people would, when I was on my healing journey, other people would, chime in, which always happens. People like to express their opinion about what you're doing and give you their opinion about what you should be doing instead. So when people would do that to me, I just politely would tell them, I'm just giving this a year or two to see if it works. And then at that point, if I decided that I don't think it's working or whatever, I'm going to try something else. So I sort of tried to stay the course with what I knew to be true about healing and not be deterred or influenced by other people, because, let's face it, we all are. It's just sort of how we're wired to connect with other people, and then also kind of our energy is sensitive to their energy. So if they're, disapproving of us or whatever, it can feel kind of scary and like it shakes us, especially if we don't have that strong, solid footing to begin with. So that is the important thing. And, we just have to give ourselves such an abundance of self-love along the way, because this is hard. Change is hard in general. And what I'm proposing to tell you to do every day is superhuman. It's like you are an extraordinary person. If you take this journey on, and I'm challenging you to do it, this is something that is not an average person's pursuit. This is an extraordinary person's pursuit. So I commend you for even listening to me and being willing to just try it on, because I want to challenge you to rise to the occasion and to recognize the true strength and brilliance that is within you, that somehow we forget. We forget how wonderful we are. And I'm sorry, I get emotional when I think about this, because we leave parts of ourselves behind. And when we do that, we lose parts and we lose our abilities. So I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. I want us all to rise together and become the magnificent creatures that God intended us to be, that we have the God-given right to be that. So, okay, I'm going to stop my boo-hooing and move on to some more practical matters. But the point is, I care. I care about you guys. I care about helping people understand what is causing the illness and helping them just take hold of it and moving forward, because it can be done, and doctors won't tell you that. And it just makes me so angry that the medical system has been co-opted by pharmaceuticals so that they just want to push a bunch of drugs on us, and that is not the answer. That is a band-aid at best. So, and again, I'm on my soapbox, so I'm going to definitely jump off now, because the next thing I want to talk about is our nervous system regulation. So when we have SD, we're basically caught in a fight or flight or freeze moment. When we're so scared that we can't speak or move or escape, that is a symptom of fight or flight or freeze. So we are perpetually in that state when we have SD. Our faculties are not working properly because we are petrified at all times. And often this is a holdover from a past thing that happened in our life. So maybe we experienced something that was truly petrifying, or maybe we just kind of got death by a thousand cuts. I was raised in a family where my dad was a yeller, and he was not an abusive person per se, but he also would lose it on us as kids on a regular basis and yell at us. And he was a big, scary, tall, big guy. So we always felt like we were walking around on eggshells. So I know for me, my nervous system was not regulated from the start. I was already off kilter as a kid. And then you throw in, what I'm going to talk about later, the other aspects of this, which are the pathogens and the toxins, the metals that get into our bodies, then start what the ball was an emotional start to this whole thing. And then the other pathogens hop on to that opportunity to wreak havoc with our nervous system and then keep that in perpetuation. So we are basically stuck with this in this fight or flight. And then our brain kind of gets in this loop that it's stuck in. So when we have neural pathways in our brain, it's similar to like a field of grass. If you have a field of grass and you have, you walk through it one time and you kind of tamp down the grass as you're going, suddenly that path is a little bit more of least resistance because there's less grass kind of holding you back. So you kind of have a chance to go down that path again, go down that path again, go down that path again. So eventually that becomes our default. And that's what happens to us too when we have SD. We're stuck in this fear loop. So we're kind of in this petrified state, and then we go to speak and it reinforces that, because then we add some more fears onto it. Like, oh my God, what am I going to sound like? What are they going to think of me? Are they going to be able to even hear me? Am I going to be able to communicate properly? So, it's important to know that those neural pathways can be changed. We can rewire our brain. So it's important to just know that, because when we feel ourselves going down that same fear pathway, we can change it and just change the trajectory of that path just a little bit to a different path. And so over time, as we do that, then that original pathway gets pruned out. After 90 days, our brain actually takes those old pathways that we no longer use very much and prune them out, and then we have a whole new set. So that's the key. We have to use our mindset to kind of work on that continuously, because we didn't get here overnight, people. It took me a good solid 50 years on this planet to get myself worked in quite a tizzy and a series of breakdown in my bodily systems, I should say. So it takes time to undo that, unwind that tightly wound ball of whatever it is. So we have to just little by little work on rewiring our brain so that we're not in the fear loop. We have to work on our mindset and our belief system about, okay, what about people and they're judging me, and does it make me honestly think I'm less of a person if no matter what they think? We have to get to that point where we work on our beliefs and our own knowledge of ourselves so that we're unshakable. We're not traumatized by someone's comment saying, oh, I can't hear you, or are you sick, or whatever they're going to say to us, because they don't understand. They're in their own little fear loop. We got to just work on ourselves, and we can't worry about managing other people and what they're going to say or do. We just work on ourselves. So once we kind of get that fear loop under control in our minds, then of course the next thing that happens is our emotional state improves immediately, because we are automatically on a higher elevated thought, which is attached to a higher elevated emotion. So, when you go into a public setting, I'll just give you an example. So you go in a public setting, you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to talk to someone and it's kind of loud in here, so they're probably not going to be able to hear me. But you can make it a game for yourself and just prove to yourself that you had the courage to try. And regardless of their reaction to you, you don't care, because you're on a healing trajectory, and this isn't forever, this is temporary. So you don't have to be devastated by their reaction, because honestly, it doesn't matter. And you can let it roll off your back. And then again, so that's one victory. Yay, okay, today was a better day. I realized I could behave differently in this situation and not fold in panic and beat myself up, and it's never going to heal, and all that whole thing that happens. We get down this downward spiral. We're spiraling down and down and down. Instead, we just stop it in its tracks. We start noticing. We say, nope, not playing that game today. I am going to do better, and I am going to choose differently. Even if it's just a little bit. I'm just going to try an experiment. That's the thing that I thought about when I was starting this journey. So I'm like, okay, what is the worst thing that happens to me if I dedicate myself to healing myself with nutrition and mindset stuff? What's the worst that's going to happen to me? Some things in my body are probably going to improve. So, okay, and I didn't eat the cake at the party, or I didn't drink the alcohol anymore. So that's another thing we'll talk about a little bit later when we get into the whole nutrition aspect of it. But the emotional state of our body dictates then our chi, our energy, what we're able to actually express in the world at all times. And that expression of that energy, it affects every cell in our body. It affects the electricity that's running through our brain, and the neural pathways and the neurons and the neurotransmitters, which again, that's a big part of the SD too, because the communication is broken down. The signal from the brain isn't making it to the proper muscles surrounding. Sorry, I probably just touched my microphone. It made a little noise. But it's not telling the right muscles to do the right thing at the right time. So there's an interruption there. The nerve is inflamed, and that the whole electrical circuit is not being, properly done. So that's okay, because this is all stuff that can be rectified. So we just have to address the stuff. And there's my cat. So everybody wants to be in on this live today. My cat and my dog are here. You'll be very happy to know. But you know what? They're awesome, because they're emitting a healing frequency for me. They are part of the frequency that I want to tap into. So except when they're trying to meow during my live presentation. So they are full of that frequency that we want to tap into, because part of that nervous system override that we're trying to do So some of the tools that we can do to try and override our nervous system, we can pet our dog, pet our cat, go put our feet, bare feet on the earth. That's called earthing. And we just, suddenly our body becomes in tune with the frequency of the earth. We are designed to be influenced by the frequencies around us. And so it's super important that we use those natural ones because we don't have to do anything. That's not like hard work or heavy lifting. If we can just get ourselves in that environment, it automatically happens for us. So the more we can do that kind of thing, we want to like adopt these tools all day, every day until we get that nervous system calmed down. We want to let it know it's safe and that I'm okay. Everything's okay. And I don't need to be running from a tiger right now. So you can just calm down. And it just takes a minute after years and years of being in that loop that it feels unnatural to let yourself relax. It feels kind of scary to let go and not, immediately. I know for myself, like I was always kind of holding on to these muscles in my neck. I would just have an underlying tension there. Just in my mind, I think it was because in case I needed to use them or talk to them, I needed to check in with them and make sure they were ready to go. But instead, I was probably keeping that nerve or nerves that were involved there probably a little bit more inflamed than they needed to be if I had just relaxed. So we can do breath work. We can do tapping. I don't know if you guys are familiar with, there's a EFT. And so there's a thing that you can do that just overrides the nervous system. It helps you just fire off some new like chemicals and neurotransmitters that help your body just automatically relax. So we have workarounds for the wiring that we have been running with all these years. We have a way to manually override it because it doesn't want to be changed on its own. It just can't. It's a malfunctioning right now because of the toxic level in our body and the fact that we haven't learned the tools yet. We haven't mastered those yet. So those are super important things. Now, of course, all of the mindset stuff, the nervous system regulation, the self-love, the kindness to ourselves. We have to be our own cheerleader, our own dependable rock of Gibraltar. We have to stop that negative thought loop of beating ourselves up and the perfectionism and the control that we are, I've noticed some similarities with people that have SD. A lot of us are very much type A personalities who also have a little bit of a control thing and also have a perfectionistic tendency that want things just so all the time. And that's a trauma response. That's part of our trauma response, is trying to control as much as we can of our external environment so that we can feel safe. So the key is now to help ourselves feel safe no matter what. And it's simple little things. You can just give yourself a hug. I know that sounds corny. A lot of this stuff we know, and it's not rocket science. It's not like, oh, okay, her remedy is to go walk barefooted on the earth and give myself a hug. Yeah, great. That's very helpful. But honestly, it is over time. We just have to practice these things over and over again. And I don't know about you, but I feel kind of silly giving myself a hug. And so it makes me kind of laugh. And so, that's the thing. It releases those good chemicals in our brain when we do some of this stuff that may seem silly. I want to encourage you to be silly. It's time to recapture that same old little kid within us that likes to be silly, that likes to have fun, that likes to feel joy and happiness and levity, and who cares? That's the part we need back. Most of us have lost it or lost touch with that to a great degree, and we need to call that part of us back, because that's the part that actually lets us open our hearts and lets us proceed in life with joy and optimism and hope and a sense of just fun. So that's another thing I want to encourage you to just let yourself take a nap. Let yourself do something frivolous. Let yourself be silly. Get a coloring book. Get some bubbles. Get, whatever fun little thing that you used to like to do, a sketch pad, or, like if you used to play a musical instrument, or you sing some songs and you enjoy singing, just, even though your voice isn't ready yet, it doesn't matter. You can just have some silly fun. So that is like the other side of the healing, other than the nutrition. So the nutrition is an important spot, or part of it that I started kind of focusing on that when I first started, and I think I was just too brain fogged, and also I had too many neurological symptoms going on in my body that were just commanding my attention all the time. So I wasn't able to fully tap into more of the emotional and the spiritual side too. That's another thing that I meant to include in the energetic side, is our connection to the divine, to nature, to feeling that the universe has our back. The universe wants us to heal. Our bodies want us to heal. So knowing that we have like that in our favor is an important ally. And we have to remember it on a daily basis, because we can feel a little beaten down, and especially, this takes time. I'm not here to tell you next week. It could happen. You never know. There might be some really great healing that can happen. And I do believe that when we change our energy, things happen really much faster on an energetic plane versus the 3D world that we live in. When we put it into the energy field, and it becomes, that is our driving force of our healing, I honestly think it can go way faster. So I'm not going to put a time thing on it. My experience was, it took me 2.5 years. And my hope is, I'm telling you all the tools it took me all that time to learn. So I'm telling you now all of these tools that you can start from the start using. So theoretically, your journey should go smoother and easier than mine did, because I was in that grassy field with no path forged yet. So I had to do it. And now I've done the path, and I'm showing you the path. So that's kind of a bonus, and hopefully you guys will jump on. And I hope that for you, honestly. So in the nutrition category, first and foremost, what I would say is important is the hydration factor. Most of us are dehydrated. In general, we don't drink enough water. Speaking of which, I think I'll tap some right now. So, and then the quality of our water is also important. So we need to be, theoretically, best case scenario, we want to filter our water. So we take out all of the garbage that is in all of our tap water, all the pharmaceuticals and metals and things that are floating around in that water. We want to remove that. And then we want to remineralize it with, some lemon water, some cucumber, something like that. So that we, some squeeze of lemon, I said lemon water, squeeze of lemon, slice of cucumber, that just remineralizes the water so that our body can identify it and absorb it better. So the hydration point is super important, because also by the time our nervous system is affected, when we have SD, then we have so many toxins in our body, we need extra water. So we need more water than the average person, because we need to be able to flush out some of those toxins and those things. And a lot of times our lymphatic systems are sluggish and not working properly. We need to help that. Our blood is thick because we've been eating high fat and garbage, standard American diet stuff. No judgment. I did it too. We all do it. We've done it. That's just how we're brought up in this country. Our food system is broken, sadly, and we have normalized eating processed things that are on a shelf that don't really resemble actual food. instead of eating whole foods and real foods, that's sort of become more normal. It's like if you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, you're weird or you're different. And it's like, that's what we came into the world eating. So it seems kind of backwards that, that's the weird person is eating an apple and instead of like a bar or something out of a package. So bizarre. So in addition to the hydration, we need to start giving our body all of the building blocks that we need to repair the nerves and give all of the systems of our body a chance to heal. A lot of times, once we have SD, we have adrenal fatigue, we have a liver issue. Even if you haven't been diagnosed, we have a thyroid situation going on. Even if the blood work does not show it, I guarantee you there are some underlying symptoms that you probably have that are congruent with those conditions, with those things. So we need to also give plenty of minerals and glucose so that is what our bodies need at all times. It needs glucose, minerals, and potassium at all times. So when we're under stress, a lot of times, we're peeing out our potassium because of the adrenaline factor is keying our kidneys to dump the potassium. And so we're lacking that. We're lacking our thyroid hormones because in a stress situation, our thyroid is, it's producing, but the T4 is not being able to be converted into the T3. So we're stuck with this situation where our stuff might show up well on blood, but it's not actually the truth of what's happening in our bodies because we're not absorbing it, we're not utilizing what it is that we need. So anyway, I digress. So we're still talking about feeding plenty of good stuff. The neurotransmitters are super key. Lots of minerals. We need lots and lots of leafy greens. The celery juice is an important factor because you can cram a lot of those minerals in to one glass of juice that you drink every day. So that's like a bonus. I feel like that's like an action-packed glass of hydration and minerals, and it also has like fighting abilities to help us weed out the pathogens, helps loosen the metals in our body. It also provides us with amounts of calcium and vitamin C that doesn't need to be processed by our liver. Every vitamin that we consume out of our food needs to be methylated by our liver. Now, when we have SD, our liver's already compromised because we know this because if it weren't compromised, if it was working perfectly, the pathogens that are causing the SD and the metals would not be floating around in our bodies. They would have been consumed and contained by the liver. That's the liver's job. It's the filter. So once we have issues that are, indicating the filter isn't working properly, then we know we have these other things going on. So extra of all of that stuff. So that's going to make your job easier too when you go to have to remove the inflammatory foods. So the inflammatory foods are eggs, gluten, dairy, soy, corn, canola oil, and pork. Now, I'm going to add a caveat to these because those are the ones that actually feed the pathogens and kind of muck up the works. But things like alcohol, I had mentioned that earlier because I know for myself, I had a really bad habit. I had gotten into some really bad habits as I got more and more sick, approaching that tipping point for myself where I was drinking alcohol every day. I was drinking a lot of caffeine every day. And I'm just here to tell you that those two things are not friends to your adrenal glands or your liver. And what we need is we need the adrenals and the liver to be healed so that we can then heal the nervous system. So it's important to just bear that in mind. granted, I'm throwing a lot at you. And again, I don't recommend making all these changes at once. I recommend doing a thing or two per week or two every couple weeks, because we're not on a sprint, we're on a marathon, and the body does not like to be shocked. So we have to be mindful of how we proceed in this whole situation. So, one example would be, okay, I'm going to take out whatever one you think is easiest to take out. Let's do one that's easiest, because let's win. Let's get a win in for the week and say, okay, I'm going to get rid of all the soy in my life. That's probably, if you're not a vegan, probably the soy is easy to get rid of, right? But you have to start reading a lot of labels, because what you notice is like soybean oil or soy is in supplements sometimes, or things that have nothing to do with soy that you would not even imagine that soy has a part to be in, but it's in there. So, and then, the biggies are the eggs, gluten, and the dairy, for sure. Those are the ones that are probably the most inflammatory, and you might actually notice the biggest reward right off the bat from getting rid of those out of your diet on a daily basis. Again, you got to do one at a time, unless you're just super driven and you just have that ability to kind of love yourself through that uncomfortable feeling of, what am I going to eat now? And, super motivated to not let it derail you when you feel a little overwhelmed by trying to do many things at once. That's the thing we want to avoid. We don't want overwhelm. We want someone who is feeling good with their changes. We don't want too much detox. We don't want a feeling of overwhelm. We want this to be as enjoyable of a situation as it can be, because we're doing something wonderful for ourselves. We're moving our health forward. We're healing whatever it is in our body that is ailing us. And that's a great thing too. This whole approach, we're talking specifically about SD today, but honestly, it will help heal everything. For me, I had so many side effects of good digestion, no more allergies, no more sinus problems, no more, and then a long list of neurological things that happen to me all the time. And so the voice was my main driver. That was my main thing that I was just so intent on healing. But honestly, my whole health and energy and sleep pattern, all of it has improved because I focused on this for my voice, but I got all this other stuff as my bonus, my, extra prizes. So, I know this is a lot, you guys. I know this is a lot. And so the thing is that, if you'll allow me to tell you a little bit about what I do, I am here as the guide. I am here for each and every one of you to help you tailor make whatever thing you need to focus on. We all are different, right? We're all going to have a different set of struggles. We have different jobs. We have different families. We have different habits. We have different things. And so, it's very difficult for me to just say, okay, one size fits all. This week we eliminate eggs. This next week we're going to go and work on gluten and all of that good stuff. So each person is different. We all need to sort of have our own approach to this situation. Because again, it's for a marathon. It's not for a sprint. And we're just in it to win it. And so slow and steady wins the race. So in my coaching practices, so I have several different packages. I have a 6-month package. That's my favorite because again, this is a long-term commitment that we're making. So I love the 6-month package because I get to meet with my clients twice a month. We discuss, what is going on in their lives because, again, life is not sitting on the sidelines going, oh, she's on a healing journey, so I'm just going to calm down over here and not throw any curveballs. Oh no, that's not how it goes. We are constantly having to kind of like dodge some things in our lives and pivot and reallocate. So over the 6-month period of time, so I meet with my clients twice a month, and then we also check in on the alternating weeks. And then of course I have unlimited access to like question answering and all of that good stuff. So that is a beautiful thing because we can develop a very great relationship of trust, of support. So I can be like, okay, this sounds like a little bit too much detox. Let's dial it back down. I know for myself, I was like, okay, do I need to be doing more celery juice? Because I'm feeling like wonky from this much celery juice. Do I do more or less, or what do I do? And so for me, having been through it, I understand that sometimes less is more. I learned that from finally bending a knee and going to a practitioner myself. I was pretty stubborn in the beginning and just was like, I'm going to do this on my own and I don't need any help and blah, blah, blah. And I just eventually got to a point where I had kind of worked myself into a little bit of a lather with too much stuff going on. I had done too many things. And I realized after talking to this practitioner that I needed to back off. I needed to calm down and just allow it to happen in the more timely fashion that my body was able to do it. That's the thing. Our body has its own idea about what is safe. If the liver released all of the junk that's in there at once, it would literally kill us. Our brain would, and our heart would immediately be damaged. So the liver has this like amazing, like inner knowledge. And there's like a, like there's wisdom in all of our organs. Each organ, we always like associate all of the decisions and the dictating that happens from our brain. And that's not actually true. The heart has its own ability to, instigate things. Same with the liver. Like there's a knowledge and an immune system that's in the liver itself, and it knows what is appropriate to release in terms of detoxing our bodies. So as we do that, then, we can just move on down the road in a more calm and easy fashion instead of rushing. That was my problem. I was in a hurry and I was so fearful still and not relaxed and just in the flow. And that's what I want to encourage you guys to do, is just like learn to kind of be in the flow. Let's make that a goal, like every day. Like, am I in the flow today, or am I fighting against it or forcing it, or, nervous and trying to do all that. Anyway, so I have a 6-month package. I have a 3-month package, which is basically the same exact kind of like format. It's just a shorter period of time. I also have a package that is just 4 sessions that you can pick and choose whenever you want to use them. In other words, you could do one this month and then you could wait a couple months. See, we talk about the changes. We talk about a game plan. You have a few months to then implement, and then you could, follow back with me on a different, and then we revise the plan and tweak it and expand upon it as we progress through those sessions. Then I also have just 1 session. If you just feel like, oh, I'm stuck, I just need someone to just kind of point me in the right direction. What should I be doing next? Or is this too much detox, or what's causing whatever? And we can just unpack it and talk about, or if there's an emotional component of why you can't get over this hump, or that you're having trouble making the changes, the 1 session comes in handy. So, I wanted to let you know about it too, because I am running a Black Friday special until December 6th. So I'll put my website in the comments below, and then I will also put the code that you can enter to save 20%. So this is going to definitely be the lowest prices of the year coming up because of the sale that's going on. So it's 20% off of all of those services. So definitely you might as well, take advantage of saving money. I'm always like looking for a good bargain. So that always makes me feel like, yes, I did it. And I was smart about it. I waited till the sale. Okay, cool. So, it can be done. And I want you guys to just continue in the journey, even if it's just from afar. I'll be cheering you on from afar, and you guys can, you know, persevere, and you can do it regardless. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'll stay here for a second. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask or comment in the comments. I don't see any at the moment. Okay, so anyway, I hope you guys got something good out of this. It is my passion to help you guys along your path. I believe in you, and I want to encourage you that you don't have to do everything all at once. All you have to do is be 1% better tomorrow than you were today. That's all we can do. One little bit at a time eventually gets us down in the direction that we want to go. So I guess I will talk to you guys in the group, and please feel free to ask any questions. I'm always looking for any comments or questions to answer, and I love you, and I hope to see you soon. Oh, I wanted to say one more thing. I know the holidays is a rough time of year to start, and if you did decide to book a package with me, you don't have to start right away. You could start after the first of the year if you wanted to, but also I want to encourage you that there's no perfect time to start. As a matter of fact, I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary yesterday. I started on the 28th of November, 2018. Yes. So that it was for the holidays, and I stumbled through the holidays, and I didn't do it perfectly, but I started, and that's the point. So, I know we just got to take a chance one time and give it a shot and give it our all. And we'll never know unless we do that, if it could have worked. So I encourage you guys to do that. All right. We'll talk soon. Bye. Mwah.